are focused on China. And I know that the session mentions Indonesia in there as well. Unfortunately, you're not going to get much Indonesia expertise from us. But definitely, if you have any questions about China, whether relating to specifically marketing and social media or otherwise, we'll hope to leave enough time for Q&A so you can ask us. Before I start, it's always an interest for me to kind of see who we have in the room and what kind of experience and knowledge you already have with the Chinese market. So if you can just have a show of hands, whoever has been in China in the last year, in the last 12 months. Well, almost everybody, that's great. And how many of you have Chinese language website? Almost everyone. How many of you have a Weibo account? Okay, and a WeChat official profile page? Slightly less. All right, very good. For the few of you here that maybe are not there yet and are looking for more of a justification of why we should invest in China, I don't think there are any here, but I'm going to set the scene a little bit in terms of the macro level reasons for why China is such an important market, and also why social media, digital marketing, and targeting independent travelers is really becoming a no-brainer and something that everybody must do right now. Whether you're still distributing through the travel trade or selling online to consumers, marketing and raising brand awareness with consumers is a very important part of your marketing mix. So the Chinese tourism industry and the Chinese outbound tourism is already impacting nearly every international destination. So if you don't have a fully forged China market strategy, it's definitely about time to have it. For about a bit about myself, just so you can understand my background, I've been working with the Chinese outbound market for 18 years. I worked as the head of independent travel at Gulliver's Travel Associates in Shanghai and Beijing. And I studied Chinese before that, graduated with a degree in Chinese, and quite interested in Chinese culture as well. And right now, my company is called China Contact. We do basically market entry consulting and strategy. So this is an overview of some of our clients over the past few years. Show you there's a real array of companies across the travel sector that are interested in China about group travel. And I don't want to repeat all of that there, although we will talk about the overall travel market, the size of it, and the potential. But it's very important to focus on FIT. I mean, for me, FIT is really pretty much what I've been doing for my career. I think that in group travel, the competition is about price. And if you can offer the same product for a cheaper price, you're going to get the business. There's very little value added for service, for kind of ingenuity and creativity in marketing. Over the last 16 years of formalized leisure travel business out of China, that's basically when outbound ADS, or approved destination status travel, started. We already have people who have traveled 2, 3, 4 times, and they're getting more experienced, more adventurous, and they want to see places that are not covered by the traditional tour groups. And they also want to travel in a way that essentially they take ownership of, and they can control the schedule. They're not limited to what the tour guide or the travel agent decides they should do and see. Sorry. Also, it has been quite a lot in the news last year, and the government actually had to create a new tourism law in October of last year because of the high-pressure tactics of tour operators and travel guides pushing people into shopping to earn commissions. So that's put people off traveling in groups. Increasingly, more and more destinations are becoming more Chinese-friendly, offering Chinese language materials, and are learning about the Chinese culture to be able to make people feel more comfortable. And that means that people can also travel independently without feeling they need a Chinese language tour guide or they need the safety of a group. And more Chinese owned and operated companies are now based all over the world. and offering the knowledge, the flexibility, the expertise of dealing with Chinese. I would say that, of course, the highly reported rise of the middle classes and the high income potential of so many Chinese means people don't want to be constrained traveling in groups, and they want to be able to essentially decide what their level of, of stay will be, of hotel, etc., and not be basically not be herded. So increasingly, status for Chinese, based on kind of the Chinese culture, the importance of status and face is very high. And one of the ways to show your status and gain respect is also to look at your travel experiences, what you've done. Have you been already to the South Pole, to the North Pole, etc. So that kind of individual control is a lot more attainable through independent travel. So this is just a chart. I don't know if you can see all in the back, but essentially it shows that by 2014, we expect to have about 108 million people according to current projections. The UN WTO forecasts that by 2020, we're going to reach 200 million. So that's the official projection from UN WTO that's been revised in 2008, because before that, they thought they would get to 100 million by 2020, where in fact we're already there. Last year we had 97 million outbound trips. But in fact, if we go by current trajectory and the current growth rate of 19% per average per year, by 2020 we will have more than 300 million outbound travelers. So we should be able to get to 220 million by 2018 already. So the growth is beyond what anybody ever expected, and the projections have to keep being remade to keep up with the pace. So that's why this market is so important. Traditionally, the image of a standard Chinese tour group has been something like this. You've got focus on food, on eating Chinese food everywhere. You've got male-dominated groups, business groups, a lot of them. And you also have lack of respect for local culture, like we've seen with this example of Chinese graffiti in a temple in Egypt. And the image around the world is not very good. I think Chinese have ranking second as the worst tourists after the Americans. It's not my survey, I'm just reporting. Whereas in fact the image of FIT, independent travelers, is more like this: highly educated, often having studied abroad, very wealthy, highly mobile and social, and all with smartphones, using them a lot for pretty much all aspects of their life, focusing on health and rejuvenation, and adventurous, more and more adventurous. So this is totally different from group travel in terms of how you reach this market, and that's what we're going to talk about today. On top of that, from last year, essentially made people want to go more and more towards independent travel. It basically aims to protect the consumers from kind of pressure to buy, but it doesn't really touch on independent travel. So basically what it means is that shopping tours cannot be advertised as shopping tours. The guides cannot go into the stores with the group. The tour leader must be a full-time employee. He cannot just earn their money from commissions. But we already see that 6 months later, these shopping tours are coming back. But they got a lot of negative publicity, period. And I'm quite hopeful that, and optimistic that independent travel is going to grow also because of this reason. So how do independent travelers search for information and reach the nation for the travel? Where should you engage them? And what would be their priorities for travel when they're traveling? So some of the key messages to come out of there, if you only took 3 things away, it'll be make sure you can overcome their instinctive distrust of anybody selling them anything. Make sure you try to engage with them at a personal level, both through direct interaction and social media. And really learn to see beyond the overall cliches of Chinese market. Because with independent travelers, they're highly segmented, and you need to understand those different segments, especially of high net worth Chinese, and not succumb to a lot of cliches around superstitions, numbers, those kind of things, because they're only relevant for part and segment of the outbound travel. So generally speaking, the most important source for research and information is friends and family recommendations. They put relationship and trust very high in terms of value, and you really, if you're going to get anywhere and invest in, that would be the best place. Online travel forums where their peers discuss travel destinations and travel products are also highly rated. Review sites, again, where their peers, people who are also Chinese who are like them, from the same kind of social economic, they will trust that more from official sources, or reviews that were translated from other languages. Very much reliant on mobile contact apps. We heard that also in the morning. People often in the big cities commute for a long time. They have the mobile, they have relatively cheap access to internet, so they use that time to browse, to get inspired. And then after that come travel agents and official destination websites. Whereas travel agents are getting significantly less important now, although they're still needed for a lot of long-haul destinations where people need to get a visa. So the agents sell that as part of the package. Now, there's different stages where you can interact with them and engage them. As early as possible, ideally in the inspiration stage. But you also have where they're doing search, for example, through meta search, Tunar, Tianxun, or Skyscanner, which is basically what people use often for long-haul destinations, and in the booking stages through cooperation with OTAs, looking at post-sales promotion, etc. There's a lot of apps in China, and Sam will talk a bit more about the digital ecosystem. But basically, there isn't, like, for example, Android is the most popular platform, but there isn't one Google Play Store. There are many, many app stores. And you'll need to, if you're having something that's distributed through an app, you then need to have that strategy of dealing with all the different app stores. On the road as well, by using social media extensively, you can actually influence and impact their shopping behavior on the road, and post-travel through encouraging reviews and recommendations. Just a few words about priorities. So for Chinese, if you want to sell something to an independent traveler, focusing on issues like trust, loyalty, the cultural nuance, and still food, which is very important, all serve and all really help you get in with them. So whatever channel and marketing kind of distribution platform you're using, your product needs to take into account these principles. And Chinese companies like Ctrip do it very well with their various VIP cards and having kind of a firm presence and brand in the market. If you are to go through the travel trade, for example, whether you're distributing as a wholesaler, you still need to think about what your brand awareness means in China. So beyond speaking to operators and wholesalers on a regular basis and building that relationship, is working with the travel media, working with Chinese businesses that have a lot of business and incentive travel, making sure you have a multi-channel strategy that basically covers regional companies as well as online media. And your localization, which you'll hear about later in terms of translation, but localization is not just translation. Oftentimes, content has to be totally rewritten with what is the segment that you're targeting in China. And then areas around web design, user experience are all quite highly targeted and different in China than other places. And we don't have a lot of time to go into the specifics of that now, but it's something that you always have to ask the questions. How will my website look different, behave different, respond differently in China? But all that basically boils down to what is your target market. So it's not all of China, it's not even all of Northeast China. Every major city in China can be a market unto itself, and then you've got different demographic segmentations that would mean that your marketing will be a lot more targeted and effective. Social media is becoming a great channel because it's cost effective. It allows you to target the consumers even if you're not actually based and have an office there, which means for small and medium-sized companies, it's a really good channel. You still need to adhere to all the principles we talked about before, but you can use social media for branding, for engagement, for customer service. The market is very fragmented, so not all social media is effective in all parts of China. And but you know, it is again a great tool because Chinese spend a lot more time on social media compared to people in other countries. You have to augment that with your own web presence. So just a social media strategy without adequate in Chinese, without adequate presence on Baidu, the Chinese search engine, that won't be enough, but it's a start. And of course, protecting your brand, making sure that you've got relevant IP protection through trademarking. You always have to worry about that. So this is, again, just a very graphic, but you know, an overwhelming a depiction of how many different kinds of social media there are in China. And there's, whatever you can think of in the West, there are many clones and copies and adaptations in China, but they're highly fragmented. So after I've covered all of that, I still want to go back to the main thing, which is guanxi and relationship built with Chinese businesses and partners there. And if you don't focus on that, you're still not going to get anywhere, even if you're purely an online business. Visiting the market, as many of you and pretty much all of you clearly have done, understanding that areas around kind of gift giving and building relationships and taking them out for meals, etc., need to know. And if you feel that you're not strong enough there, then take that as a, you know, I guess, a call to at least get trained up and knowledgeable about this area. So that's all for me. I'll keep it short. I want to make sure that we have time for questions later after Sam's speech. But if you have any questions that you don't feel free to kind of confident speaking out, then you can send it to our Twitter at China Contact. Thank you.